Welcome back to Lightmatter. I'm talking. Enjoy it while it lasts, because I'm clicking resume and we're just gonna continue listening to the developer commentary, so bye!
The puzzle had to make sense, so we came up with an excuse for that, and that became it. And it kind of makes sense. You can kind of see that, okay.
This would cause a bridge to collapse.
Yeah.
And I guess also when designing like the effects for the core, we went for powerful but not magical. That's why we it has sort of a northern light look on it.
It does?
Not entirely like a laser, because, well, lasers are kind of, when you look at scientific photos, they're kind of boring. I mean, not to diss lasers, but they're just a stripe. So it had to look like some kind of light phenomenon.
Yeah.
And that's what we went with.
Light-based scientific beam of stuff.
Yeah, and I think some of us, or a lot of us in the company, are big Half-Life fans, and I think yeah, and I think just subconsciously that influenced the design of it.
Yeah.
From the first Half-Life, yeah.
That makes sense.
But it is fun that I think it's episode 1, Half-Life 2, where they actually have a kind of similar structure in place, like a beam extending from a ceiling to a bottom, like a floor, and then you have to do something with it. But I couldn't remember it before we designed this.
It just happened.
But then I revisited Half-Life 2, and then saw it again. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
You should speak up a little bit.
Is that it?
I could talk a bit about James's office.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were up in before.
It was a really fun part to decorate that one, because a lot of the facility is very impersonal. There are hundreds of people working here who don't have names in the story and don't have personalities. And even though I try to come up with, okay, here is the corner of a person who makes this and that and is probably tidy and likes sandwiches, and on weekends they sing karaoke. I came up with a lot of fake people who never are in the story, just have desks and left their personal belongings behind.
Family pictures.
There's quite a lot of those. It was a lot of fun designing James's office, because he's a real person and he's bulky, so there's weights, and he has a cat, so there's cat house and all kinds of things he would like. It was a lot of fun giving him a little bit of personality just through props that are in his office.
Yeah, he's a big sensitive man.
I even scaled up, we have these standard issue chairs and desks throughout the facility. I scaled up everything a little bit just because he's such a big person.
But then he has a very small, cute button that he has to press to open it.
Yes.
Just usually one finger.
Yes, that's one finger button for him, but for most people, they would have to use a whole hand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then towards the end of this level, when you reach the elevator, it's kind of our excuse to setting back the progress of the player, so they end up in the bottom of the facility and have to progress through the whole facility to escape.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. It's kind of inspired by the trope where you start out very close to the goal of something, or start out with all the power-ups, and then you go all the way back to square one.
Yeah.
And also, in order to show people the facility and show people the crystals and the mining area and stuff like that. So you learn something about the facility.
Alright, there we go. Yeah, I did notice now James's office. That didn't register the first time through, because I didn't even know who James was, but that's kind of a neat touch. And like she said, most of the other places are pretty samey, they just blend together. There's no real, big personal things lying around or whatever, so James's office was definitely just more interesting like that, but kind of a shame that you go there so early when you don't know who James is or why there are, weights lying around. I didn't even really process it until now when I actually know the character and stuff. So I don't know. Could be Like, it would have been maybe fun if you came back there later on, or if you just went there later on in the game, if it was located somewhere later in the game. I don't know. Well, that was my minute of talking. Now, 15 minutes of dev talk. Okay.
Hello, my name is Ulrik and I'm the audio designer for Lightmatter. I've been working on the music and all the effects and all sound in the game. We're going to talk a little about Can't Walk in Shadow, this level. And yeah, the last level was Virgil's office, and there was a lot of noise, and you are crashing with this elevator into this level. So to make a contrast from all the noise in the previous level, it's actually pretty quiet in this level.
Damn it.
So you start up with almost no sound, and then later on we fade in some music to ease you into the puzzle feeling mode.
Oh my god.
And Can't Walk in Shadows is a level that's designed towards, this is the first time you can actually die in the game.
Die, yes.
Yeah.
And of course it was important for us to make sure that at least there was a chance that the player could die, so they could experience the shadows firsthand. It is built towards both the more skilled players who kind of understand the mechanic up front, so they can react to what is going to happen. So they.
No!
Hello,
Shit! Damn! Fuck, I didn't want to do that. Oh, crap. Well, I didn't think I touched it. Guess I need to go back to level 3 here, and then pick this one up, and I'll skip to this part in the recording. Ah, that's unfortunate. Hello? Oh, okay.
Hello, my name is Ulrik and I'm the audio designer for Lightmatter. I've been working on...
I gotta try this.
My name is Ulrik and I'm the audio designer for Lightmatter. I've been working on the music and all the effects, all sound in the game. We're going to talk a little about Can't Walk in Shadow, this level. And yeah, the last level was Virgil's office, and there was a lot of noise, and you...
Nothing.
It is built towards both the more skilled players who kind of understand the mechanic up front, so they can react to what is going to happen, so they can actually prevent themselves from dying if they're quick. And then the ones who are not as quick will die and get the feeling of how the mechanic works. But no matter what, they have to cross the darkness to get to the other side and continue to the next level. And we forced them to do that by having this small jump puzzle with a blinking light, so they have to not react fast, but a little bit. Yes. And yeah, the beginning of the game is, or not the game, this level is kind of maneuvering you around the black pit or office area, whatever you want to call it, in the mine, to kind of emphasize the reflections of the shadows, and also to give room to Virgil to kind of talk to the player and explain some stuff.
Yeah, I remember that it was always this level. We always wanted to feel like a contrast from the previous, also in the way that Virgil can't really reach out to you immediately. Like his voice is distorted, and kind of to make it feel a little more dangerous. This place you're in, that you've and also that you've fallen you're far away from him now. But yeah, about like the dying in shadows. If we go back in the beginning, we didn't in the beginning of the narrative, it wasn't necessarily the idea that you were gonna die in the shadows. Like that came in, I think, maybe 1.5, 2 years into the project.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that when you go into the shadows, you actually die. Like that's the explanation in the universe. Because what happens is that you just go back a few minutes or a few seconds with checkpoints. But we went that direction with explaining that you actually die because we think it's interesting to have like this primal element in the game, which we feel like in many puzzle games there isn't really this death and this like something that feels actually dangerous and a bit eerie and sinister. So in the beginning, when you went into the shadows, the screen would just fade out. But then we added more things, and we added like the screen is being eaten up, like a vignette, like from the corners, and then we added like these bubbly things, like as if it's acid, like dissolving your body, that goes into the air, and we like slowly throughout these years like added a few more effects to the death effect, and it's very nice that we have a guy in the company who's very sensitive to motion sickness and stuff like that, because we do like a vertigo effect, and we could clearly tell when he got too sick when dying.
Yeah. And the death effect is also sound-wise it's following the bubbly. It's kind of a tar like matter. So
exactly.
So I also sound in the mix take all high pitch, high frequency sound of all the sounds that's there.
Yes, and that also supports the way the reflections look. We always like our reference has always been like tar.
Yeah.
And I think that even we've been wanting to do that from the very beginning of the project. I remember it just we just thought it was, I don't even know how it came up, but it's just something we've been wanting to do, and all of a sudden 1.5 years into the project we were able to do it, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, this is very, very extensive developer commentary. Like, I think I would prefer it if it was, trimmed down a little bit. Like, I don't think we need to hear that you made the first jumping puzzle have a light that went on and off with a timer, because that makes it so that you have to be a little quick, but not too quick. It's not, like, too hard. That's kind of obvious. I think everyone just inherently understands that. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I feel like you could probably cut most of these in like half and still contain all the relevant information. Because, yeah, I mean, some of it is pretty interesting with the sound design and level design choices and stuff. But, I don't know. Let's move on to the next one.
Hello, I'm Philip Newman, and I'm the CEO of Tunnel Vision Games. My primary responsibilities in the company is running the company.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yes, so it's all from economics to talking with publishers, to talking with funds to like give us money. It's like I've been trying to make sure that we get bread on the table each month as far as we can, and so it's like everything that has to do with the company that is not game development.
Yeah.
I have been trying to take care of and like catch the grenades so it doesn't explode in your faces. So you can focus, you can have a deeper focus on developing and designing the game going on. And besides that, especially in the later periods of the project, I've also come back to doing some actual work on the game, which have been very thrilling and
being back in Unity.
Yes, and being much needed for like craved almost. And you sometimes you only understand how hungry you are for it when you start eating again.
Wow.
So this level
Yeah.
is was made to help us showcase the game better. We saw a need for a level that kind of explained the moving shadows concept without any mechanics, but the buttons that move stuff, and it was very important we saw that it was very important to have something that explained this more to people in a way.
Yeah, I guess we showcased this, not this level, but other levels at conventions. And in the beginning, we just dropped them into a level with lamps and other mechanics. And some people understood the shadow concept, but others, they needed something a little more like a softer introduction.
Something visually also appealing in terms of stuff moving. Some people have a hard time imagining how things are when they have moved and shifted, especially when there's something weird like this going on.
Yeah. So we decided to make this a level where the shadows are just in your face and you cannot get through them without understanding that if you push the button, then something will move and then the shadow will also move with it. And our hope is that because this level is kind of like, if you don't get it, then you cannot solve it. So you have to push the buttons. It's very simple. But when you do it, you understand it, and then going forward, you should know how the shadows work in our game.
Yeah, at least on a very basic level.
Yeah.
And that is exactly the intention of this. And going to these conventions and showcasing it, like, we have seen that this level, it gets the job done.
Yeah.
Like, people, like, they seem to get this is actually the first real puzzle of the game where you actually have to do something active, besides jumping and moving to get forward. So we really wanted something that could like smooth the experience, both in terms of difficulty and in terms of the learning curve that is not too steep at this point in the game. Besides that, this is also a good entry point to talk about like some of the stuff that I've been happy to work on in the game as well, like, because going about 3 years without working pretty much in Unity or making something tangible, like I've been over the design and testing and like giving feedback continuously, but doing something on my own has been something that I haven't done in 3 years and then started. And this was actually one of the first levels I got into doing. And also one of the last ones I ended up doing as well, because there are small things like the cameras that follow you. Like, I think I've placed almost all of them in the game. Going forward, there are small things like books, wheelbarrows, masks, some pebbles somewhere, and some pills, sick stuff.
All the things you see in the beginning of the level, especially.
That the entry room was actually the thing I made in the going last.
Okay.
Because this was just an empty like passage. And at the beginning, like when you do something over time, your confidence build up, and like I felt like I was ready to do a full room, and I felt like, hey, let's do something like a minor break. Like, this is where you start and grab your equipment and get going to the day. And there's something like that was immensely fun to build for me, because most of the time I was there, like, she made all the big things and the structure around it, and I just had to like put something here, 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 and here. Which was good because you could really see the difference all these small things made when you accumulated them. But I haven't done something from the bottom like that. And to be honest, like the first iteration I did, like Austea came over and said, "This doesn't belong here." Nope. I'm like,
yes, he's very strict about that.
But it's nice because when you have rules, it's easy to abide when you learn them, of course.
I think it's interesting because, as we talked about in one of the first of these logs, this game started out as a university project where we all worked equally on the game. But then when we formed the company, we decided to take on different roles. So as a CEO, you did all the things besides the game. So you haven't really been into the game development for many years. And now you had the opportunity to jump back into it.
At least like knee deeps.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like. It's not full dive.
No, but it was we really needed some last push in terms of the polish, and like the programmers, myself included, we were so busy with other stuff, so we just needed like to divide out the work, and I felt it worked really nicely.
Yes, it worked surprisingly well. I was a bit concerned also because being the CEO, there's a lot of jobs in one job there, and like being able to juggle that with also doing this was something I was afraid of. Like that, could I do it fast enough? Could I do it good enough? Because it's been so long, and like you start to like doubt your own ability to just jump into it again and go. But it went surprisingly smooth.
Yeah, this is much more of a like personal devlog than many other dev commentary. Like it doesn't seem like this dev commentary is necessarily about informing the player about things like the details of the game and the underlying behind the scenes stuff. It's kind of just like them just having a casual chat and like reminiscing about like what they did in certain areas and who was in charge of what and their roles throughout the creative process and whatever, which, I mean, I guess that's a thing you can do as well. It's not what I was expecting, but okay, let's try one more and just check how long this one is. Maybe we'll have to cut this one off as well. I'll see. No, this is fine.
I remember this level is actually the first level we really decorated. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this was the time when we had just decided that, okay, this part of the game will be in the mine. And I was researching what mines looked like and noticed a lot of tracks, obviously. And in this decoration and defining the mine style, because this was the first level that was in the mine that we decorated, I had to come up with something that would just dictate the rest of the mine levels. And I saw these moving platforms and turning things, and I thought, okay, well, how does that make sense in any way to be a real life thing? And there was thoughts about how electricity flows and how they regulate it with switches that turn around that were kind of similarly, and then I thought about how they redirect trains like that, and thus rail track shifters were born because, well, they had to redirect minecarts somehow through this huge cavernous hole in the mountain. So I decided they had to turn the tracks.
Yeah. And I think it's worth to mention that the way that we make puzzles is that we start with it like, without any graphics at all, just like the puzzle idea, and then you add the decorations and give meaning to like what is this room, and then we add sound effects on top of that. Like that's the last part of the pipeline.
Yeah, like when I look at the levels first, when I get them to decorate, they are made out of white and gray cubes or just tiles, and there is nothing there usually, and then it's a challenge.
Yes, you give it life. Yeah.
And the cool part about this level and the way it's built is that there's quite a lot of things in the dark, so that helped us figure out how it should look. I think you have more to tell about this.
Yeah, so like the art style of the game goes very, very far back. Like was one of like, the first things we did once we had a couple of puzzles, but we quickly found out that we really need to be able to see what's going on in the dark without like compromising and not making it look like dark. So the white lines in the dark is really helpful for that. And it also helps create the game or make the game look less flat, because we don't really have textures. And that's where the edge detection comes into play. And I remember that we were really inspired by a game called White Knight, which had a really fantastic art style, similar to like Frank Miller comics and just basically old comics, which have been really fundamental to our art style. And when we added that, the puzzles became a bit more easier to read, and it also makes the room feel bigger because you can actually see much more, especially in this room, this level. And the reason why we don't have textures in our game is because, well, we are a little team, and we're making a very big game for this team size, and textures is actually it requires a lot of work. With maybe you can maybe talk about unwrapping models.
The sheer amount of objects in the game we have, and if I had to texture them, that would have taken like a few more years of development, so not a good idea. So in this case, I tried to convey the mood and that it's underwater and it's damp and in the mine.
Underwater?
With colors, and try to make our standard set of grayish blues just a little bit greener and a little bit warmer to give it that damp feeling, but just enough so that it still appears blue, but gives us a feeling that, yeah, there's dripping water from the ceiling and all that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should move on from the places. I like keep picking the things up and then solving the puzzle and getting to the next one so I can just stand there, but maybe I should just be standing, like, where they're talking about stuff so I can actually, like, pay attention, because, yeah, I didn't really notice that much, like, it was greener and whatnot. Oh, yeah, this is nothing. Alright, well, I'm gonna leave it off there for this episode. Really, I feel like I'm cheating here. Cheating in the LP world. I'm not really doing much. There's not really that much for me to comment on, because there's not really, like, anything super critical that they're talking about. I mean, it's interesting enough. I want to hear it. Talking about the art design and stuff. The whole thing about the, like, white lines within the darkness, that's actually a good point that I just haven't consciously thought about before. That, like, even when things are in pitch black darkness and it's dangerous, you can still make out all the contours and you know what things are. So that's kind of a nice stylistic choice. But beyond that, it's mainly just them talking about, like, their personal choices and stuff. Hopefully we get some more juicy dev secrets about the, like, proper story and puzzle design and who knows what in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!